When it comes to iconic cities around the world, there's no denying that New York is one of the best examples of human ingenuity. It has the tallest building in the world, some of the most iconic skyscrapers ever built, and is home to over 8 million people from all walks of life. It's no wonder why so many people aspire to move to the Big Apple and make their dreams come true. But have you ever wondered how this city came to be? Today, we're going to explore how New York became the greatest city in the world. New Amsterdam, 1624. Imagine a time before skyscrapers, or even the United States as a whole. Back in the early 17th century, this area was inhabited by the Lenape people for thousands of years. However, when Europeans began exploring the area, they claimed it for themselves and started to build settlements. The Dutch West India Company established a small trading post on Manhattan Island called New Amsterdam in 1624. At first, it was just a tiny village with a few dozen European residents. But as the years went on, it grew rapidly and eventually became a major port city. By the mid-1600s, New Amsterdam had become a bustling hub for trade and commerce. The city's strategic location at the mouth of the Hudson River made it an ideal spot for merchants to dock their ships and sell their wares. As the city grew, so did its population. People from all over Europe came to New Amsterdam seeking new opportunities, and the city quickly became a melting pot of cultures. In 1664, the English took control of New Amsterdam and renamed it New York in honor of the Duke of York. This was a significant event in the city's history as it marked the beginning of its transition from a Dutch colony to an English one. Under English rule, the city continued to grow and prosper. The harbor was expanded to accommodate larger vessels, and new industries such as shipbuilding and milling were introduced. By the end of the 17th century, New York had become the largest city in the British colonies, with a population of over 10,000 people. As the 18th century dawned, New York was poised for even more growth and prosperity. The city's strategic location on the Atlantic coast made it an ideal candidate for a major port, and its natural resources and agricultural wealth made it an attractive destination for businesses and settlers alike. In addition to its economic potential, New York also had a strategic importance for the British Empire. The city's proximity to the mouth of the Hudson River made it an ideal location for a naval base, and it quickly became an important center for the Royal Navy. But New York's strategic importance would soon be put to the test. In 1776, the American Revolutionary War broke out, and New York became one of the main targets of the British military. The city was occupied by British troops in 1776 and remained under their control until 1783. During the war, much of the city was destroyed, but once peace was restored, New York began to rebuild, and it did so with a vengeance. The city's leaders were determined to make New York the preeminent city in the new nation, and they worked tirelessly to achieve that goal. One of their first priorities was to improve the city's infrastructure. The streets were widened and paved, new bridges were built, and a new aqueduct was constructed to bring fresh water into the city. In addition to these public works projects, New York's leaders also worked to attract businesses and settlers to the city. They offered generous land grants to anyone who was willing to invest in the city's economy, and they passed laws to encourage manufacturing and commerce. These efforts paid off handsomely as New York quickly became the commercial and financial capital of the United States. By the early 19th century, New York was already a major player in the U.S. economy. The city's location on the Atlantic coast made it an ideal port for importing goods from Europe and exporting American products overseas. In addition, New York's access to the vast natural resources of the American frontier meant that it could supply its factories with the raw materials they needed to produce finished goods. The Erie Canal, which connected the Great Lakes to the Hudson River, was completed in 1825, and this had a major impact on New York's growth. The canal made it possible for New York to import goods from the Midwest and export manufactured goods to the West. This led to a surge in New York's population and wealth during the mid-1800s. The Industrial Revolution also had a profound impact on New York's development. As factories and mills began to open up in the city, New York became a center for manufacturing and industry. This led to the creation of new jobs and new wealth, as well as a new class of wealthy industrialists. New York's population boomed during this time period, and the city became a magnet for immigrants from all over the world. However, not everyone benefited from New York's rapid growth. The city's slums were overcrowded and unsanitary, and the gap between the rich and poor was growing. But despite these challenges, New York continued to grow and prosper. The late 19th century saw the rise of New York as a global city. The completion of the Brooklyn Bridge in 1883 connected Manhattan to Brooklyn and made it easier for people to travel throughout the city. The bridge was a marvel of engineering and a symbol of New York's power and prestige. In addition, New York's stock and commodity exchanges became the centers of American finance, and the city's banks and insurance companies became some of the most powerful in the world. During the early 20th century, New York's dominance as a global city was challenged by the rise of other cities such as London and Paris. However, New York's cultural attractions, including its world-renowned museums, theaters, and art galleries, kept it a major destination for tourists and immigrants alike. The city's cultural diversity became one of its defining characteristics, and New York became known as the melting pot of cultures. After World War II, New York's population exploded, and the city became a hub for international organizations such as the United Nations. The city's economy continued to grow and diversify, and it became home to some of the most famous landmarks in the world, such as the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building. Today, New York is the largest city in the United States and one of the most important financial centers in the world. Its economy is driven by a wide range of industries, including finance, technology, media, and tourism. The city's population is highly diverse, and its cultural attractions draw visitors from all over the globe. If you like our videos, now let's talk about some interesting facts about New York City. New York City is the most densely populated place in all of North America. With over 8 million people living in the city, it's no surprise that space is at a premium. In fact, New York is so densely populated that if you laid all the people out in a line, they would stretch for over 120 miles. That's longer than the entire state of Rhode Island. New York City is home to some of the most iconic skyscrapers in the world. The Empire State Building was the tallest building in the world when it was completed in 1931. And today it remains one of the most recognizable landmarks in the city. Another iconic skyscraper is the Chrysler Building, which was the tallest building in the world when it was completed in 1930. Both of these skyscrapers are still standing today, and they continue to amaze visitors from around the world. New York City is home to a wide variety of cultures and languages. In fact, it's often referred to as the melting pot of cultures because of the large number of immigrants who have come to the city from all over the world. According to the 2020 census, over 360 languages are spoken in New York City, making it one of the most linguistically diverse cities in the world. New York City is a major hub for the arts. It's home to some of the best museums, theaters, and art galleries in the world. The Metropolitan Museum of Art is one of the largest and most comprehensive art museums in the world. And the Museum of Modern Art is home to some of the most important modern art in existence. New York is also home to world-renowned Theater District, where you can catch a Broadway show. If you want to learn more about the history of New York, there are plenty of resources available online and in libraries. You can also visit some of the city's historical landmarks to get a first-hand look at the city's rich past. For example, you can visit the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, which were both important symbols of immigration and freedom. You can also visit the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, which commemorates the victims of the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed learning about how New York became the greatest city in the world. If you want to learn more about other topics, stay tuned for more content.